like it's like a fun holiday glam right now. Wrong time of the year, but it's fine. It's fine. Charles is playing Fortnite right across the wall here, so if you guys hear yelling in the background, that is why. Because hey guys, it's me Sylvia back with another video. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about dupes. Everybody loves a good dupe video. I haven't done one of these in a while. Some of you know that recently I have moved my entire makeup collection to LA, and in the move I was able to kind of go through everything. I've opened a lot of new PR packages and I feel like I found a few good dupes that I haven't really heard about, so I wanted to share them with you guys. I'm going to do half and half, one side the dupe and one side the high-end product, so you guys can see how they compare side by side, because obviously it's different when you swatch a product and look the same, but if you apply, you know, it can be totally different. But before we get started, make sure you are subscribed to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. It is free to subscribe and you'll be notified every time I drop a new video. Join my S Club today. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So this side of my face will be the high-end side and this side will be the dupe side. So for primer, the high-end primer I have is the Too Faced Hangover primer, and we have a dupe for that, or at least what I think is a dupe for that is the Rimmel London Fix Imperfect Pro primer. So first we'll apply the Too Faced one on the high-end side. It is meant to be a hydrating primer that smooths out your skin, brightens, and it's a good primer. I do like this primer. It's very, very popular. Some people like the coconut smell, some people don't. I like it, I don't mind it. So let's do the dupe now. They both literally look like they're the exact same consistency when you like pour it out. This is the high-end one, this is the dupe. Now this one says it's supposed to do basically the exact same thing as the Too Faced one. It's supposed to brighten, hydrate, it says smooths, resurfaces, and protects. Honestly, the scent between the two products just seems to be like the biggest difference for me, because when I apply both of them, I honestly don't feel or see that much of a difference. Moving on to foundation, I have the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. On the dupe side, we have the Maybelline Superstay foundation. Both are really great foundations, and I can't help but see that there's a lot of similarities between the two of them, which is why I'm kind of claiming it as a dupe. I only have like the darker shades right now because I bought it when I was tan. That's okay, we'll just blend down to my neck. So this is the high-end side that we'll start out with. The Too Faced foundation is a very lightweight but medium to full coverage foundation, so you like can't feel it on your skin, but it still gives you really good coverage. It looks like skin, it has more of like a demi-matte finish, and it's such a popular foundation, and for good reason. It's just really good. Okay, so it's completely applied on the high-end side. You can see it's perfected my skin. It just evened out the tone. It's buildable. I can even add a little bit over top of my dark spots there, and it will help to cover them up. So now let's apply the Maybelline Superstay on the other side. So you can see it's really blending out like the same way. Very thin, kind of lightweight consistency, demi-matte finish. Honestly, the shades are pretty similar too. Warm nude and warm nude. And I find that the Superstay is also buildable. So I have like dark spots and problem areas on my cheeks. I'll apply just another layer, and it does a good job of covering that up. Like I can't even see the seam in the center of my face because the shades are also so similar. The finish between them is like the same. It looks like I have one foundation on my face. And between the two of them, they come with the exact same amount of product. So you're getting the same amount of product for a lot cheaper price, and what I kind of think is the same result, or very, very similar result. So moving on to concealer, I get you guys asking me all the time for dupes or other options to the Tarte Shape Tape because you guys know I use it all the time. It's one of my favorite concealers. Let's apply that. It's so full coverage. It's very mattifying. You don't need a lot because of how full coverage it is. And the dupe that I have for that is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. I feel like I may have mentioned this before on my channel, but I think that it's not an exact dupe, but it's so similar to where it's like still worth it, you know? And it's similar because it is full coverage. The main difference though is in the finish. I would say that the ColourPop one is more of a demi-matte. It has a little bit of like a satin finish to it, but not quite. It's still matte. And the Tarte one is very, very matte. I would be careful though if you're getting the ColourPop one, because it does tend to oxidize a little bit. So let's start by blending out the Tarte Shape Tape. You have to be quick with this one because it dries so fast because of how matte it is. If you leave it too long, it'll dry up and then it's hard to blend out. Now let's blend out the ColourPop one. Covers everything, completely covers up any dark circles or discoloration under your eye, and gives you that flawless finish that the Tarte one does. Best part is it's only $6. Okay. Both are blended out. Can you see a difference? Because I honestly can't. They look so similar that I think it's definitely a dupe, and might even work better for some people because of the fact that it's not as drying. We're gonna dupe the Laura Mercier setting powder. all-time favorite setting powder. And I'm gonna say that a really great drugstore dupe for it is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. First, let's go in with the Laura Mercier on the high-end side and set the under eye. We're gonna bake, lock that concealer in there, and it's just so finely milled. I've always loved this powder because it doesn't have any flashback. It doesn't leave like a white residue after. You can bake with it really easily, and it's still gonna brighten and set and lock in your concealer. One of the best setting powders out there. On the other side, we have the Maybelline Fit Me, and I'm gonna say this is as close as it comes. I'm gonna apply this on the dupe side. You can see it applies like the exact same. It just maybe has a little bit more of like a beige tinge to it. Obviously that depends on what shade you get. It's very soft, very finely milled as well. Brightens and locks in your concealer just as the Laura Mercier one would. So while that bakes, let's move on to brows, and then we'll go back to it and wipe it off and do the flash test to see how they both compare. So for brows, I have the Anastasia Brow Wiz for the high-end side. I'm gonna say that a really great dupe to it is the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer. So both of them come with a spoolie brush on the end of them. So let's start by doing my brow on the high-end side using the shade Caramel in the Anastasia Brow Wiz. It's a very precise tip, and it's got like a creamier consistency. You can glide the pencil right on your brow. I think the ColourPop one too would be a good dupe for this. What are these brow hairs doing? Oh my god, they're going crazy. Like that? What the hell is that one doing? So there we go, that brow is done. I was able to create it really easily. You can buff out the product. Like the Anastasia one's a great pencil. Now let's do what I think is the dupe to it, the Brow Stylist Definer. Applying this on the dupe side. You can see it glides right on just as easily as the Anastasia one. And I'm using this one in the shade Brunette. Even the shades are pretty similar. So this one has a precise tip as well, and you can see it literally can give you the exact same application as the Anastasia one. You can easily imitate those little hairs. And I basically created the same brows, just using two different products at two very different price points. So back to the face, let's dust off that baking powder. Should be done locking in that concealer. So we dusted off the Laura Mercier, now let's dust off the Maybelline Fit Me. So I don't see a difference yet after just dusting it off. Let's do the flash test right after we dusted it off. No setting spray, nothing, to see if it does give flashback in flash photography or not. Neither sides look like there's any powder there or like there's a film, or it doesn't look bad. There doesn't look like there's flashback at all. But I would say that the Laura Mercier just looks a little bit brighter under my eye. Not sure if that's in combination with the Tarte Shape Tape, but I would say both sides look really good, and definitely in person you can't see any sort of difference, and they can do the same thing and they apply the same way. So I'm gonna say that the Maybelline Fit Me is a really great dupe for the Laura Mercier, and I really like it. It's my favorite drugstore setting powder for sure. But the high-end palette that I'm gonna dupe is the Tartlet and Bloom palette from Tarte, and the palette that I'm gonna say is a dupe to it is the brand new palette from BH Cosmetics, their Glam Reflections in Rosé. So this is them side by side, and even just side by side like this, you can still see that there's a very similar kind of color story going on here. So these are all of the swatches of the Tartlet and Bloom palette. These are the swatches of the BH Cosmetics palette. You guys can see that you can get pretty close, and I'm pretty sure whatever look you can create with the Tartlet and Bloom palette, you can probably use the shadows in the BH Cosmetics Glam Reflection palette to create that same look, just because it seems to be similar enough. The only shades that I think are not exact, but you could still make work, is the darkest shades in the Tartlet palette. You can see they have like 3 very dark matte shades, and then the BH Cosmetics palette, there's only one really deep dark shade that's like a shimmer, and then the other 2 dark shades are like not as dark as the Tartlet palette, but they're very similar, so I still think it's a really good dupe. I now have a code for you guys for the BH Cosmetics website, so if you use code Sylvia at checkout, you can get a little bit of money off. So now let's apply both palettes on the lid. So I'm gonna use the shade Charmer from the Tartlet and Bloom palette, and I'm gonna use that to highlight the brow bone on the high-end side. And for the BH palette, this shade right here looks very similar to it, so we're gonna use that to highlight the brow bone. Wow, and you can see it's just as pigmented. So we're not gonna do a complex look just because this video is mostly meant for like the dupes and not a makeup tutorial. So I'm gonna do a very simple look. Moving back over to the high-end side, I'm gonna use this shade right here, Smarty Pants, as a transition shade. Now to dupe that shade on the other side, we're gonna use kind of a mixture of these 2 shades in the palette. So this one does have a little bit more gray to it than the Tarte one, but still works as a nice transition shade. Because it's a little bit more gray, I'm gonna add a little bit of this shade right here just to warm it up a bit. And then maybe we can get it to look more like the Tarte one. So now I'm gonna use this shade Firecracker from the Tartlet palette. Let's just apply that all over the lid on the high-end side. Both palettes have a giant mirror in them too, which is good. And to dupe that shade in the BH palette, we're gonna go in with this guy right here. Again, using the other side of the brush so we don't mix. Just gonna bring those same crease shadows down to the lower lash line. Now I'm gonna highlight the inner corner using Funny Girl from the Tartlet palette on the high-end side. To match that, we'll use this shade from the BH palette. Put that on the dupe side. It's just a little bit more pink, but it's still very high shine, and it does work for an inner corner highlight. Maybe if I add a little bit more of that white shimmer in their palette, yeah, that does help make it a little bit more similar. So this is the eyeshadow complete. There's a very, very subtle difference, I feel like. And it's mostly in that crease shade that we used for the BH palette. It's a little bit different, more cooler toned, but they're very similar and they work for the same type of look, you know? So next up, I have a high-end mascara to dupe, and that is the Monte Err Big Mascara from Lancome. If you've been subscribed to me, you probably heard me say that that's one of my top 3 favorite mascaras of all time. This one's actually the waterproof version, just because I couldn't find the original one. I feel like they're the same thing, they're just one's waterproof, one's not. So the dupe that I have for that is the Total Temptation mascara from Maybelline. So let's apply the Monte Err Big on the high-end side first. And I'm obviously only gonna put this on my lower lashes just because I have lash extensions on. So this mascara adds fullness, thickness, like makes your lashes as dramatic as possible, basically, because that's what I really like in a mascara. And I honestly feel like both of these do that. So right now I'm putting on the Maybelline one, and the bristles are very, very similar. Like the wands are so alike. If you look at both my bottom lashes, I feel like they look the same, and you would be able to tell even more if you were to use it on your upper lashes. So next up, let's do highlight. I have a dupe for these very, very popular highlight drops. So we have the Cover FX one and the Iconic London one. But what I think is a pretty good dupe for the two of them is the L'Oréal Glow Boosting Drops from their Lumi collection. So this just came out actually. Here are all 3 swatched, and in the swatch you'll see that the L'Oréal one does have more of a pink reflect to it, and the other 2 are more of like a bronzy golden kind of glow, but the consistency is the same. They both have, I feel like, the same amount of shine, very metallic. On the high end side, let's just use the Iconic London drops. They're so intense that you really don't need a lot. Put some on my forehead there, and the more you apply, the more intense you can make it. And you can use these type of products to like customize your foundations. If you want to make them more dewy, you just put a few drops in your foundation. So there it is, completely applied, gorgeous. Now let's see how the L'Oréal one compares on the dupe side. So honestly, it's applying exactly the same right now. I will say that it looks like there's a little bit more of a pink reflect, just like it did in the swatch. To me, I think it's still a very good dupe because it can do the exact same thing that this one can do, and the shade difference isn't like anything crazy. But let me know, what do you guys think? Like, do you think it's a good enough dupe, or do you think the shade difference is enough that it's like not considered a dupe anymore? I think it is a good dupe. So I have another high-end highlight product. This is brand new from Becca Cosmetics. Becca has amazing highlighters, and this one is especially nice because the palette has basically all the highlight shades that you could want. I love this palette, but I think I found a dupe for it. So this is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Palette. It does have a lot of the same colorful highlights that the Becca one does, so I think it's missing like one shade that the Becca palette would have that this one you can't really get with, but for the rest of them, they look very similar. Let's apply this shade on the high-end side, and then we already have a highlight on there. Of course, blinding, beautiful, amazing. So really the only shade I wouldn't be able to dupe is this one in the palette, but the rest of them, they have pretty good similarities. Now on the Wet n Wild dupe side, we'll use this shade right here, which I think is pretty close to the one we used on the high-end side. Pretty. Dupe side, high-end side. I feel like they're similar enough. I will say that the formula of the Becca one it feels like it's a little bit more finely milled, so the powder is not going to be as detectable on your face, but the Wet n Wild is really great formula too for the price. Moving on to bronzer, I have the Hoola bronzer from Benefit. I feel like a really good dupe to it is the Nyx Matte Bronzer. If you even hold these side by side, you can see that the bronze powder in both of them is such a similar shade, and they are very close when you apply them on your face. So let's first go in on the high-end side with the Benefit Hoola. So now let's try what I think is the dupe, the NYX one, on the dupe side. So you can see I feel like it has the same amount of pigment as the Benefit one, and it's like such a similar color. So you're getting the same shade of bronze. High-end dupe. Pretty similar if you ask me. Next up is blush. So I have a dupe for one of my favorite blushes. You guys have seen me use it countless times on my channel. That is the Becca blush in shade Songbird. And the dupe to that I think is from NYX. It's their baked blush in Ignite/Passion. Even in the pan, they look very similar. This one maybe has a little bit more orange to it. This one is the NYX one. This one is Becca. Pretty similar. So let's use the Becca one first on the high-end side. I love this blush. It's got like the perfect tint of like coral and peach, and their blush formulas are very, very soft. We'll use the NYX one on the affordable side, the dupe side. You guys, is that not the same? What? I knew it. Both of them have a little bit of shimmer in them. They're both very nice, fine powders. They sit on the skin really nice. They blend out really nice. And I feel like they're similar enough to just call it a dupe. It is what it is. You're saving your money. You're welcome. Spray, I think I found a dupe to the All Nighter setting spray from Urban Decay, and that is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Spray and Set. So they like apply the same, it's spritz. Both the setting sprays are on and I think it's a dupe, no problem. Like it really feels exactly the same and I just feel like my skin, my makeup lasts the same as it does with the Urban Decay one. Last up for lips, so for the high-end side, we have the Kylie Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Mary Jo K, a very popular brand in general. I mean, everyone's always trying to find dupes for Kylie Cosmetics, and I think I found one for Mary Jo. This is the Superstay Matte Ink Liquid Lipstick from Maybelline, and this is the shade Pioneer. Honestly, I kind of like the applicator better on the Maybelline one because it's easier to apply without a liner because it's pointed. I will say the Kylie Cosmetics one dries a lot quicker and it's kind of harder to build because of that reason, because once it dries and you try to build it, it gets like crusty. The Maybelline one takes a little longer to dry, like I think it's still drying a little bit, but it's more of a comfortable matte. Like it's not as Sahara Desert feeling, you know? So I'll probably say that I kind of prefer the Maybelline one over Mary Jo K. It is a good dupe, like they look the same shade. Your girl needs to put a lip liner on to clean this up, but we'll just ignore that. Okay guys, so this is the finished look. We got the one side using all high-end products and the other side using what I think is their dupe. Honestly, looking at the final makeup look here, like all together, I don't see a difference. I think maybe if you look very close up, you can see the difference in the lips. And for the rest of it, like you have to look so up close. Maybe the crease color, like everything else looks legit. I hope this video had some new ones that you haven't yet seen, especially since I tried to dupe some hot new products. Make sure you share down in the comments any new dupes that you might have so we can all see them and save some money on some high-end products. And maybe I'll include it in the next video. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button before you leave and then check out these other ones of mine if you haven't seen them yet. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys. Mwah. Bye.